Welcome to Business Matters. This is your program that we are so excited in terms of bringing you so much of insight in the business and economic world. Business Matters is obviously here to stay, and we are glad that every single one of you out there has made it worthwhile for us. My name is Stephen Ipalabo-Lawson. One more time, you're welcome. Many businesses themselves oftentimes have fallen prey to all kinds of illegal activities, and this is the reason why due process is very important in any business transaction that you are engaged in. And this is part of what we're going to be exploring on this week's edition of your program. Let's have a update first.
Hey beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight. Now reading page 3. Experience unlimited superfast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
As is our culture on Business Matters, we invited distinguished guests to the studio to help us do justice to the topic of the day. And today my guest is an alumna of the University of Ibadan. And she was called to the Nigerian bar as a barrister and a solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria in the year 2002. In 2022, she obtained a postgraduate diploma in commercial and corporate law from the Queen Mary University, University of London, United Kingdom. And this is before founding the YBA and Co. Solicitors. She has been involved in active legal practice in the law firms of Ola Akpalara and Co., Oguni Ogundare and Co., and Dele Farotimi and Co., where she rose quickly to become the head of real estate arm of that particular firm. Having been engaged in several active consultancy and solicitors work, she has obviously extensively, as a matter of fact, researched into property and land law, commercial law, corporate law, alternative dispute resolution, which is ADR, as well as constitutional law. My guest has provided legal support services to companies in the banking and real estate sectors of the economy and currently handles real estate investment for a sizable number of Nigerians in the diaspora. She's obviously has gained extensive negotiating and mediating skills, especially in real estate investment on behalf of clients. She currently facilitates a class in communication skills at the prestigious Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators, NICA. She's the winner of the Honorable Justice Kayode Esho's Prize for Arbitration Laws and Procedure in 2017, and an accomplished author with the upcoming professional book titled Real Estate Investment, Doing It Right. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome my guest, Olamide Adeleye, and we are going to be looking at business development in real estate, the role of the law. How are you, Olamide? You're welcome.
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
It's a great honor. I mean, earlier on out behind the cameras, behind the scenes, you and I were having a wonderful conversation that was anchored on the need of building a legacy that has the embodiment of integrity and trust, which obviously is a major business asset, if you definitely agree with me in today's world.
Right.
Great. Now, let's go straight into the meat of today's conversation. The law and property rights. What exactly are the correlations? Can you help expatiate on that? And what should we be looking at either as property owners or property service beneficiaries, as the case might be, whether I'm a tenant, whether I'm just a developer and all that. What exactly is the correlation with regards to that subject of law and the property rights of an individual?
Thank you very much. The law and property rights. I'll start first and foremost with the 1999 Nigerian Constitution, you know, which gives every Nigerian a right to own a property, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your social status.
Irrespective of your tribe as well.
Irrespective of your tribe as well. So everyone has a right to own properties in Nigeria. And then drilling it down to the Land Use Act of 1998, which vests...
78, you mean?
1978.
Okay. Which
vests the ownership of property in the state governor of every state to hold it in trust.
The state governor, not I mean, because, forgive me for interjecting, when you look at that particular statement, one will imagine that the traditional individuals, people who actually have been on a particular land or property, actually are the ones who own the land. And so the Land Use Act itself, isn't that some kind of conflict of interest, as we can imagine?
It's very interesting because apparently there are some kind of conflicts that have arisen as a result of that. So if you look at the 1978 Land Use Act, it vests land ownership in every state, in the state governor, to hold it in trust for the people, you know, and then to use it for the benefit of the people. Now, what happens to, and under the 1978 Land Use Act, you can only own the property for 99 years, a maximum period of 99 years, after which it reverts to the governor, and then, of course, you can easily renew, and then you're back being the valid owner of the title. But the problem now comes with people with freehold title.
Okay.
Before the enactment of the 1978 Land Use Act, some people still feel that I have a freehold title to this property, so the 1999 years do not really affect me. Okay. But they are in error. For as long as you sell the property or you transfer the interest or your title in that particular property to another person, the only document that can be executed will be a deed of assignment. And every deed of assignment will fall under the provisions of the 1978 Land Use Act. So it stops becoming a freehold. So I have clients who are saying, you know, I'm looking for a freehold property. And I'm like, the moment you buy it, it stops becoming a freehold property. And you don't have that title anymore. So
no, oftentimes the people who make such case for freehold are the traditional title holders, naturally. Yes. Because you imagine that land is that factor of production, which is very key. Without land, the production never happens.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think that is one asset that never depreciates. The value actually increases over time.
Over time.
All right. So, I mean, when we look at this aspect of land, especially in Nigeria, we have so many of challenges that arises. A lot of people have land, and then there are contentions on that land. So when we imagine that oftentimes you have to go to court to be able to address some of those issues. But where does arbitration, for example, or mediation come when these kinds of matters come on board?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. It's very interesting that a whole lot of people can get their matters resolved very quickly, land matters very quickly via arbitration rather than going to the courts. We've had cases whereby the cases have been in court for 20, 30 years. In fact, there was a particular case that actually went to the Supreme Court. And by the time the case was resolved, now the beneficiaries of the decision had passed.
Oh my God.
So it was just their
Why does it take that long?
It was just their grandchildren that could benefit from it. And that is why we encourage people at the point of negotiating a real estate transaction or picking interest in investing in real estate, we tell them at that point, have an arbitration clause.
Okay.
With an arbitration clause, you can decide that you want any issues or any disputes resolved within 3 months. You can just give it a time frame, and then you have the opportunity to select who the arbitrator would be.
Oh, fantastic.
You know,
fantastic.
And arbitration also comes with a lot of confidentiality.
Okay.
And so it has a whole lot of benefits. And when it comes to mediation, right now, when cases get to court for litigation, the first thing would be it's been systemized in such a way that it will be referred to mediation first, hoping that the parties will be able to resolve their issues via mediation.
Fantastic.
And if they are not able to do that, then they go to courts.
Fantastic. Is there a difference between mediation and arbitration?
Okay,
or they're just basically synonyms in one way or the other? No,
there's a major difference. So when mediation is two parties have an issue and they appoint a mediator who is going to say, what are the issues? What are the issues? What do you want from this? What do you want from this? Discuss it. So the mediator aids the reconciliation, but the mediator does not decide. In the case of the arbitrator decides. Arbitrator hears party A, hears party B, and decides and gives an award.
Okay, which is legally binding?
Oh, it's legally binding.
You don't necessarily have to be a lawyer to be a mediator?
No, you don't.
Either way, or even as an arbitrator, so to speak?
No, you don't have to be a lawyer to be a mediator or to be an arbitrator. And the good thing about this is that, so when we have issues, maybe pertaining to engineering, so you look for an engineer who is an arbitrator, because by the virtue of the nature of what they do or their experiences in life, they have a better understanding of what the issues are and are able to quickly resolve those issues between the parties.
So whatever reward or conclusion, and pardon me, I'm actually exploring this because it's a very interesting area, especially when it comes to land issue or real estate issues. For example, village matters comes in, and there you see that
and
people.
That's the genesis of arbitration and mediation.
Oh, actually. Fantastic!
Yes.
Oh, you see that? Yeah. Because you just realize that some people are afraid to go and claim a particular village land because they're afraid that one uncle or one auntie might want to, kill them and all that. And then arbitration obviously can help to, assuage that kind of fear, as the case might be. You agree with me on that?
Yeah, I do. So I would say that the genesis of arbitration or mediation is actually, issues with customary rights over land, sourceful, over titles.
Fantastic.
And families are not able to resolve their issues. They go to the Oba's palace, to the king or to one of the chiefs to help them to resolve it.
Fantastic.
So, interestingly, the roles those people are playing, it's either the role of a mediator or the role of an arbitrator, but we just don't call them arbitrators or mediators.
That's a very enlightening. I had never actually saw it that way. I think we should explore that more and give them those titles so that we know that a lot of the verdict that come down with are obviously binding.
And then we have a lot more less, cases.
Yes, cases of somebody killing, uncle killing one nephew or niece or whatever it is. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on a short break. As soon as we're back for the commercial break, the conversation continues. And I'm excited about this second half of our conversation, which is an area I want to believe that you yourself will be looking forward to. It has to do with documentation and title documents. Please stay with us.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
You're welcome back. This is Business Matters, and if you've just joined us, we are in the studio with Mrs. Olamide Elizabeth Adeleye, and then we've been looking at business development in real estate, the role of the law. Before this time, we've explored several topics as regards to the property rights. We've looked at the role of arbitration in helping to resolve a lot of challenges that comes up in terms of transactions and engagement. This particular focus right now is one area that I'm very excited about. I know you're working on a book which is on real estate investment, trying to doing it right as the case might be. However, a lot of concerns for a lot, and especially my audience, has to do with documentation, title documents. We hear all kinds of documents here and there, and people oftentimes are confused. And so when we wonder what exactly is the difference between excision, right, if I got that right, and the Gazette, we're looking at the C of O, we hear lease, we hear deed of assignment and the rest of that. Could you help us throw more light with what are the difference with all of this, and what exactly should I be looking out to in terms of documentation as a property owner or somebody who wants to invest in real estate?
Thank you very much. This is a very key question when it comes to real estate investments. The quality of your title documents says a whole lot about the investments and says a whole lot about the potentials as well. So we have different titles when it comes to properties. We have what we call the accession, which, so I'm going to list them as not in order of priority.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm going to list them in order of priority, I would say the C of O and the registered deed of assignment, you know, would come first.
Yeah, because there's a confusion, because sometimes you want to buy a property and somebody will tell you that if you don't have a C of O, all right, that property itself cannot be compensated for, especially when you have government, you want to create a road or something, and so you have to pull down certain houses, and somebody will tell you that if you don't have this particular C of O, there's no compensation for you. So some of us are a little bit concerned that should I not get properties, landed properties, whatever it is, that actually comes with a C of O? Is a C of O the most important of all of those title documents?
That's actually quite erroneous.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not only a C of O that vests you with that right to government compensation. A registered deed of assignment will do a similar thing as well. We give you similar rights. So if you have your deed of assignment and it is registered, when we say registered, it's been perfected. You have the governor's consent. It's on the same level with the C of O. Now, if you have a deed of assignment that is not registered, and you bought that property from somebody with a C of O, and you want access to that compensation, you have to go via the seller of the property to you who has the original title. Wonderful. Because that is the only person recognizable by the state as the authentic owner of the title.
So does it mean if I buy a land, for example, and so the person has a C of O and I have a 99-year tenure, and then buying it off that person with C of O, I'm giving a deed of assignment?
Yes.
Now I go ahead and perfect the deed of assignment. So at the point of perfection, I get the government consent, or governor's consent, pardon me. Yeah. So at that level, does it not mean that there are two title documents on that land? The person who has this C of O, and then you that eventually has come down with the government consent?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
So at that point, the registered deed of assignment over that particular land with C of O overrides the C of O.
Okay.
That is the only title document that will be recognized at the land registry.
Okay.
As long as it is registered. If it is not registered, that is where the danger is. And that's why we encourage people to register their title documents. And one thing I also want to say about compensation is that these days, when people want their deed of assignments prepared, they want to falsify the actual value of the land. But they don't realize that if there's a problem with it in the future, now the calculation for the compensation that the person would be getting will be based on the value imputed in the deed of assignment. So if they have grossly undervalued it because they want to be able to reduce the assessment payable, then they are shooting themselves in the foot. So, yeah. So
now, Olamide, because of time, we're going to be concluding this conversation. But before we do that, I need to be able to ask you this particular question. So I'm acquiring a flat or an apartment in a block of flats. And I'm made to understand that I need my own document in case I want to use that for bank loan, as the case might be. And then there are blocks of flats, as the case is. What happens in that regard in terms of the due diligence as well as title documents?
Okay, so when it comes to due diligence, it depends on what the title is. If it's a C of O, it's a good title. If it's a deed of assignment and it's not registered, then you have more to do with regards to the due diligence. And it's always important to ensure that if it's a deed of assignment, it's registered, you have the governor's consent for that. And then what you will have, if it's a C of O, what you will be issued will be a deed of assignment. And if it's a registered deed of assignment, then you get your own deed of assignment covering that particular apartment.
That
so
particular apartment itself. So I'm not concerned about the other apartment owners, as the case.
No, you're not concerned about the other apartments. So in a situation where we have several buildings together, like several bungalows together, what you get will be a deed of partition.
Okay.
A deed of partition, which is registrable also at the lands registry. And don't forget that there's something that is very key. Every land right now falls under the 1978 Land Use Act. It's very key to know how many years are left from the
99 years.
From when the 99 years was granted. That is very key. Some would have like just 30 years, which means after 30 years, what happens? So you need to check what are the terms of the purchase. If you're purchasing the property, what are the terms, what are the conditions, what are the renewal terms? So is it reverting immediately to the property owner, or they are just asking for merely some renewal payments and then you are back as the owner, as the valid owner of the property?
Now, what happens in a situation whereby I want to put out a mini industry and I go to a particular place, let's say at Igbefor, as the case was, then the next day the government comes in and then knocks down my investment and tells me that, you know, the land of which I acquired from the indigents, you know, is no longer tenable. What perhaps would have been responsible for that kind of scenario?
Okay, so two things available. Now, if you have your valid title documents, I would assume that the person did the proper due diligence. Now, you have your valid title document, is registered. You have a right to be compensated.
Okay.
Now, but we have, more often than not, it's a case of people buying properties without conducting due diligence. If they had conducted some kind of due diligence, if the property had been charted at the lands registry, they would have realized that, okay, it falls under maybe some kind of government acquisition. It's not only acquired, some lands are not just acquired, some are even committed for a particular project. Okay. With those ones, there's nothing you can do about it. Some are just acquired but not committed. With some kind of regularization, the title can revert and you will be able to process your title. But for those that fall under acquired and committed, it's like there's no hope. It's a hopeless situation.
It's a hopeless situation.
The government will come calling and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Because you also have, yes,
a huge loss, a colossal loss.
A colossal loss, yeah, that's more of it.
You would have, you should have done the due diligence, and all this would have been discovered at the onset of the transaction. All
right, Olamide Adeleye, thank you so very much. And just as we are doing our due diligence on business matter, this has been a wonderful time out, and I hope it has in the future when we extend an invitation. We'll have you again to explore more of this area, as a matter of fact. And we're hoping that when we get other platforms, we'll like to have you come on board to share with us from your experience as well. Thank you so very much. That would be
amazing. Thank you very much for having me.
Viewers, thank you guys so much. We can take on the interview segment. Please stay tuned. After this short break, Business Matters continues. Well, you've heard it all. It's important for you to do things right. Real estate investment is a very huge kind of investment. Oftentimes, people invest their pensions, people invest so much money they have taken as loans from banks or financial institutions. You want to make sure you go through the due diligence protocol to ensure that your documentations are right. Business development in real estate itself cannot do without the rule of the law. And so as you begin to invest in real estate, ensure that you definitely subscribe to professional experiences that can help you avert potholes that may lead to colossal losses. My name is Stephen Epalabo Lawson. This is so much we can bring to you on Business Matters. Please follow us on all our different social media handles. Until I come here again, bye-bye for now.